It's time for a viewer's choice video. Finally, it's been a while since I last had a viewer's choice poll and vote. So this is the viewer's choice review from the last poll back in May, I believe. A little bit late, but it's coming. Kind of the viewer's choice. I'm kind of doing a whole series based on the book that was voted on. Anyway, stay tuned. That's coming up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Good day, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Let's talk about the most recent viewer's choice pick, The Subtle Knife, from Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials. Because I've actually completed this series, I kind of opted, we're going to talk a little bit about The Subtle Knife, but kind of this series as a whole in this video review. I will, of course, try to keep it spoiler-free for those who may not have read the series, and as we all know, it has been adapted into the HBO TV series His Dark Materials as well. And let's talk about that. So, first and foremost, I want to say this is probably my first time through this series as a whole. And I love the concept and idea behind this. Now, let's just talk a little bit about The Subtle Knife first, because this was the book that was kind of voted as the viewer's choice. To be honest, I don't have a lot to say about The Subtle Knife specifically as a whole, other than the book really kind of felt like a big setup book to the final chapter or final book in this series is more driving towards that conclusion. It was much more of a setup, I felt, than anything else. Now, what is the subtle knife? The subtle knife is this knife that has the ability to literally cut a hole, so to speak, or slice or rip open the fabric of space-time itself in order to traverse into different worlds. Now, the power behind this knife is actually pretty cool. I really like that concept and idea behind the subtle knife. So, of course, if you've read The Subtle Knife, then you know the character, Will, is the one who ends up being the knife bearer. And I'll just end up leaving it at that. I know, I'm sorry, that might be a bit of a spoiler if you haven't read it. But I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, to be honest. So, yeah, not a whole lot to say about The Subtle Knife, other than the fact that it's a really cool knife, and it's just awesome. So let's get back to kind of talking about the series as a whole. So, of course, in this series, we have the Golden Compass being the first one in the book, in this set of 3 books, or this 3 trilogy book. Now, these aren't the only ones in this world. From what I understand, there is the Book of Dust series as well, which, to be honest, I'm probably not going to get to at any point. Maybe I'll read it one day, but it's not exactly something, after reading this series, I feel like, oh, I gotta read more in this world. So, Book of Dust, maybe I'll get to it one day, but essentially we've got the Golden Compass, of course, being the first book, the Golden Compass being the alethiometer, or this magical device that has the ability to discern the truth and tell you the truth about anything. Interesting concept, that's for sure. And then, of course, the Subtle Knife, which we've already mentioned a little bit in this review, and the final one being the Amber Spyglass. Overall, the concept of His Dark Materials I really enjoyed. This idea of science versus religion. But what's interesting is this series kind of groups them all together. So, of course, from our world, we have the physicists who are exploring this idea of dark matter. This dark matter is what is referred to as dust in these other worlds of magic and lore and religion. And we have the church in this world who is seeking to destroy or prevent or anybody to learn more about the inherent true nature of dust. And we've got the angels and the demons on either side. And it's just an all-around fun concept or way to explore the differences between religion and science and how they come into conflict. And the demons in this world are actually these companions that are with us throughout our whole lives. I love the idea behind that. And the concept behind our demons are our companions. You know, it kind of brings to mind the Imagine Dragons song almost in a way where he says, "Look into my eyes, it's where my demon hides." And when you look into someone's soul, the demon is part of your soul and part of who you are, and you cannot be separated from that. To separate one from a demon or their demon is to separate their soul, and it brings agony and death. And part of this story, we have our main characters who must in fact separate themselves or discover their own demons throughout the story. And I'll just leave it at that, so I don't want to get into spoilers. But overall, I'd have to say it was an enjoyable read. It's been praised as one of the best fantasy books written, and I don't see that, to be honest. Like we see on the back of this one, it says, an Entertainment Weekly all-time greatest novel. It was good. I enjoyed it. But I wouldn't call it an all-time greatest novel, to be honest. Not by a long shot. Now, the prose itself in this series, I would definitely argue, is a pretty simple prose, relatively speaking, compared to other fantasy novels out there, for sure. But it's not that the simple prose necessarily is what makes it a good or bad book. Now, I don't mind simple prose. I am a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. Brandon Sanderson has a reputation for having simple prose, so it's not the prose itself. It's just, in general, I didn't find it to be worthy of the hype that this series seems to get so much. So I did enjoy it. I did like it. I've enjoyed the HBO series. I'm glad that I read it. I love the ideas and the concepts within this series. I love the idea of this religion versus science that are pitted against each other. I love the concept of alternate worlds and these tools or weapons and, armored bears. I love these ideas within this book. But I'd say it was good for something to read one time through, and I probably won't ever put it on a reread list. I didn't hate it, but I didn't go like, oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. I don't know how else to explain this. It's just, there you have it. There's just some thoughts on His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. An enjoyable read, definitely worth reading once, but probably, at least in my mind, not exactly worth the hype that seems to be around it in so many cases. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you've read this book series, let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to join us over on the Dragon's Den Discord. That will be linked below. And, as always, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.